so many people in the space are just looking for like a quick pump and dump of sign clients, collect a 2K retainer. And then after that, it's just like a big question mark. With any marketing in general or any sales process in general is the better you can understand the problems that people are experiencing, the better opportunity you create for yourself to then connect what you do to the problems that they're experiencing. The gurus that I won't name any, but they don't do that because they just say like, hey, follow this script word for word. But they don't teach them how to think about psychology and how to stand out. It works really well for bringing the right people if you can do it properly, which is the hard part, right? I'm at about 20, 30K ideally pretty fast.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another interview. I'm super humbled to be joined by Oliver Sharp all the way from New Zealand today.
Oliver, g'day guys, how you doing? Yeah, super stoked to be here, man.
Yeah. You've had a heck of a journey over the last, year and a half, 2 years building your agency in the med spa space. And I was fortunate enough to be part of that journey. So I wanted to get together and just talk about what you learned and how the process of growing the agency has been. And I think there's a lot of nuggets that people get out of this. So why don't you give us a little intro to yourself? Like, how old are you, where are you from, and how'd you get into the agency space? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, cool. So my name's Oliver. I'm 23 from New Zealand. I've had my agency for coming up on 2 years now. So I started in September of 2022. Before then, I'd been at university. I'd sort of been in and around doing online businesses before then. I'd done some niche Instagram pages. Cool. Did those for a couple of years. It never really went anywhere. But I sort of always knew that I wanted to do something online, the whole like financial freedom, time freedom, all that stuff that I imagine a lot of you watching this are probably looking for as well. It's been a crazy journey. So I sort of started off in the med spa space and I've stuck with it since. Initially, I was a bit more broader just with beauty clinics in general, and then targeted down on med spas just because I guess the ROI was better there for them and, then more money for me because of that. Yeah, man, it's been a crazy journey. So I'm pretty excited to talk about it.
Love it. So how did you get your first client?
So initially I was just going like bombarding people on Instagram with, a pretty stock standard cold message. I was basically just like outright pitching them, trying to get them on for I can't remember. I think it was either a free trial or a commission-based offer with a guarantee of like, 10 patients or you don't pay. So I got, so I started in September. I officially got my first client with that in about November or December. It was a couple of months of really just trying to sort everything out and I guess figure out what I was doing because I was learning purely off of YouTube. There was no like mentoring or coaching before that. And so those first few clients who came in, they were pretty terrible, to be honest, just because I found, at least, I'm not sure if you're the same, but a lot of the people you attract with like the commission-based offers and a guarantee, you tend to attract more like beginner businesses, which is a great way to get experience. But it was interesting.
The people that need guarantees are not the right audience.
Yeah, totally. It definitely helps with making the sale easier though to start with, because you don't have the sales skills and you don't have the conviction or social proof or anything like that.
Yeah. So I think when we talked, that would have been like July or something.
Yeah, June or July
of 2023. And you were like, you had like 4 or 5 of these like commission-based clients. There wasn't really any MRR. Like you were trying to kind of transition to a real business, right? So I want to get to that, but talk to me. You just kept spamming people on Instagram for the next 6 months and kind of got up to those 5 clients.
Yeah. So September, I was just like setting everything up. October and November, I was trying cold calling. And it was just like an absolute nightmare, but it was helpful at the same time. But it gave me like that base sort of confidence talking on the phone with people.
Yeah.
And then December, I started Instagram outreach, got my first client then, it did really well in January. And then I think the message I was using got pretty saturated. Because I think it was someone that some other guru was, calling out saying, hey, use this exact word for word script sort of thing. Yeah. So it died off pretty fast, and then I wasn't able to find something else that worked. So that
what was the message out of interest?
I'm pretty sure it's just like a straight like offer pitch. It was like a bit of a bait and switch. So it was, hey, like, do you offer? I think it was like, hey, do you offer laser hair removal? And they'd say yes, and they'd be like, "Oh, cool! Like if I told you I could get you X number of patients, would that be worth a chat?" Something like that. Um, a lot of people
Gotta love
hated it.
it. Yeah, that's a Joel Kaplan special. Shout
Yeah.
out to Joel.
So that didn't get me very far. Um, and then I was just kind of lost for a while, to be honest. I kept trying Instagram, but then once it stopped working, like I went from getting probably 8 or 9 calls a week to just like zero for a
Mm,
good couple of months straight. Yeah, and then by the time I hopped on with you, like you said, I had about 4 or 5 clients. And with that, I think I was probably making like barely any money. Like if I was making anything, it'd be like $500 New Zealand. That
okay.
is, so that's like 350 US.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it was
And
a lot of scrambling around for like very little return, and it was
mhm.
super ineffective.
And all of those clients came from Instagram?
Yeah, one
Okay.
referral.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So what changed, July, August of last year? You kind of moved them to retainer, right? And then what were you able to do in terms of acquisition?
Yeah, so I moved into retainer, and I started dialing in more on like organic stuff because I remember jumping into the program and looking over your hybrid model, which
Hmm.
instantly I was like, this sounds awesome because it's like the mix of getting people reaching out to you. Which, by the way, for anyone watching, like when people reach out to you, it's amazing. It's such a good feeling. But the hybrid of like having people reaching out to you while still being able to control like reaching out to people without it just being like a spam fest
Hmm.
was really interesting. So a lot of the clients that I did have in before then, they ended up just sort of like naturally dropping off because it's pretty tricky once you get someone in for some sort of like commission offer to transfer them over to a retainer,
Yeah.
especially a retainer that's actually worthwhile,
Yeah.
not getting just like a $500 retainer or something like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I really started dialing in on Facebook organic. Um, and yeah, that was awesome.
Before we get into today's episode, I'm super excited to share with you a little bit about one of our sponsors on the podcast today, Riverside. If you are a content creator or a podcaster and you're tired of your recordings with guests who sound like they're speaking with you through a tin can, then Riverside is for you. We've all been there. You're ready to do the interview. You've got your questions ready. Your guest is all set to go, and then your internet connection is unstable. Message ruins the entire recording. With Riverside, you can get rid of those internet issues and choppy audio and have clean sounding recordings effortlessly. You see, the interesting thing about Riverside is that they record each part of the episode locally on that person's device, and then they upload it to the cloud, so you make sure not to miss anything, even if it's the other person's fault. But that's not all. Riverside's amazingly user-friendly interface is super easy to use, which allows you to spend less time troubleshooting technical difficulties and editing your podcast, and instead spend more time speaking with amazing guests and getting recognized for your valuable content. It can be used for podcasts, video interviews, video marketing, panel discussions, talking head presentations, and live broadcasting. And not only does it just record all of those things, it has a ton of other built-in features that make it a no-brainer for podcasting and video. Things like AI transcriptions, editing a video by removing text, AI clips, captions, and an awesome short-form video editor built right in. And they even recently came out with a feature that auto-edits the long silences out of your podcast to the perfect length. It really is your all-in-one online video and podcast studio. And if you need more convincing, Gary Vee, Guy Raz, and Ali Abdal all use Riverside for their content and podcasts. But the very best part is that I've teamed up with them to get you guys 50% off any plan. And to get that discount, all you have to do is click the link below and enter the code IT'sKeaton at checkout. Thanks so much, Riverside, for sponsoring this episode. And with that said, let's get started. Love it. So tell me more. What were the first steps you took? And when did the messages start coming in? What kind of outbound were you doing? What kind of hybrid were you doing?
Yeah. So the way I sort of set it up is I had a personal profile and then a Facebook group. So the personal profile, I'm essentially putting out organic content that's regular. It's like either showing off my character and my personality, just to like build rapport with the audience, and then either just like direct call to actions, two-step posts, getting people to essentially like opt into resources and stuff like that to start up a
Mhm.
conversation. And then also trying to drive people into the group where I'm doing more like live trainings, posting lots of results, posting more two steps, and essentially just like getting people in the community where it's purely around growing their med spa essentially. And I know they're sort of like in my target audience if they're in there.
Mhm. Do you get a ton of other marketers trying to join the
Yeah,
group?
all the time. Yeah, instant reject.
Love it. I love that. More people should start their own group, honestly. Like
Yeah,
it's a really good low barrier to entry. Like like a YouTube channel feels daunting sometimes,
yeah,
and like we I had a YouTube channel for my agency, but a Facebook group, especially when the audience is just happens to be on Facebook or Instagram a lot, um, like it's super easy to do it, and then Facebook will market it to other people in that niche. It'll be like
yeah,
suggested groups, which is
yeah,
awesome. And I even saw a TV ad once in the gym that was like Facebook groups. I was like, why are you marketing Facebook groups on TV?
yeah.
But the
Interesting, eh?
reach in Facebook groups are actually a lot bigger as well,
Yeah, yeah.
um, which is really cool. And then you own the audience.
Yeah, exactly. And you have so much more control over the growth with something
Mm,
like a Facebook group versus YouTube, because you just jump in there every day, click the invite button, send it out to like 25 friends or something, and X% will join,
mm,
and then from there you're sort of just like chugging along day by day by day. But
genius.
the community aspect of it's awesome because I'm looking at starting up a YouTube channel, like an agency channel as well,
Hmm.
probably in the next week or so. And now suddenly I've got a platform where I can just repost my YouTube videos essentially and drive my group straight to it and get that like leg up on YouTube off the get go. So
Love it. Yeah, very
yeah,
cool. Um, so did you have a struggle? Because a lot of people that I've talked to, even like really, really good marketers who have probably 10 years of experience on you, struggle with the content side of things. Like they're like, what do I post? I'm
yeah,
not sure what to put out there. And when I do put it out there, how am I sure that this is actually going to attract me to people? So
yeah,
was that a barrier for you? And how did you get
yeah.
over it?
100%. It is, and it never really like fully goes away.
Hmm.
Um, like it's not like you suddenly break through this barrier and content's just the easiest thing ever. Like you're still having to actively think about it a lot. um, you just sort of build up systems in your head for how to do it. So, like for me personally, I break content that I'm doing down into, at least for like the marketing on my profile and the group, I break it down into the two or three different types of posts. It's like one is authority post, which is basically saying like, "Hey, I know what I'm talking about." Sometimes it's like, "Here's proof to back it up with like actual results." There's call to actions, which is um, essentially like getting people to opt into something so you can start up a conversation with them, and then just sharing who you are as a person is a third category. That's how I've broke it down personally, and that's helped a ton in terms of just like in my head thinking through what sort of posts I want to do and how I want to do it.
That's
You
great.
can get super granular with it as well. Like you can get super in depth with breaking down how you talk about what you do, making sure it's actually connecting with the pain points um, that your audience is experiencing. I mean, I feel like for me, the key to content has just been um, speaking really in depth to the problems that my audience is experiencing, and a lot of that just comes from you hopping on calls. You hear people say something like, I had one not long ago where a lady said, "My team's awesome, like they've got everything that they need in place, but I just can't get any bookings in, and I just don't know what's going on." And you just sort of translate that across into your content,
Hmm.
and you speak to those problems, and then people read it, they resonate it, like, "Damn, like he understands."
Yeah, and it's a little subtle authority thing when you say, I was talking to somebody about this problem today.
Yeah,
Like, if you don't have any clients, you're not actually doing anything with your business,
yeah,
you won't know what those problems are and you won't be having those conversations.
yeah,
But even if you're getting on sales calls, you have no clients yet, somebody talks about their problems, collect that. Like the best I heard this week, the best content isn't created, it's collected.
yeah,
Okay, let's collect this
100%.
problem. Let's collect
Yeah.
this conversation and then just like put the conversation out into the public. I
Mm.
love that.
And
Um,
like to be honest, even with a lot of the stuff that you put out on Facebook, I see that as well.
mm,
Um, yeah, man, I think you do a really good job of like nailing in what people are, especially in the agency space, like talking about and what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and yeah,
yeah, I
it works
appreciate it.
wonders. It works
Yeah,
wonders when you do it well.
it's I feel like there's this big shift happening for me personally from away from value. Like you hear value, value, value. And I honestly like I've built my brand on that. But
Yeah,
really what attracts the right people to you um is wisdom. Is like,
yeah,
hey, here it's not just here's my 10 steps. It's here's why this works and that
yeah,
doesn't.
yeah,
The why is so powerful, and taking the problem a way, like speaking specifically to the problem, like you said, and
Yeah.
giving the wisdom that nobody else is giving
Yeah.
is so powerful. Because the value, you think about it, the value person is like, it's like being in the friend zone. Like you're the guy that just like gives and gives and gives, and like she's like,
Yeah.
cool, yeah, you gave me everything I needed, like I'm gonna
Yeah.
go apply it, you know.
Yeah.
But when you give the wisdom and you show there's a different level to this that you're not seeing right now, and I'm not going to give you my 10-step list, I'm going to give you the insight to make a mindset shift. Those types of people are like, I need to work with you. And there's nothing better than a sales call with a prospect that is
Yeah.
already eating out of the palm of your hand.
Absolutely. Like I even noticed with when I put out two steps and stuff, a lot of the time people opt in, they'll ask for a resource and you send it over and then just nothing. Like there's
Mm.
no response. There's no like you try to offer to break things down for them and give them like some real clarity on it. And they don't want it. They just want to like they're hoarders essentially. They just love collecting the stuff.
Yes. It's so true.
Yeah.
um and it's interesting because the more you give, like let's say it's something that's like, I made a whole course and I'm giving it away for free, which
Yeah.
a lot of people do, and it could be successful for you, you know. But when you give all of that away, they have to go through so much before they can actually be like, oh, I need to work with this person.
Yeah.
That if, I mean, probably nobody's going to finish your entire course anyway. So you got to make the first two videos amazing. And then hopefully after the first two videos, they reach out to you. But there's something to be said for like, make it bite size, and like I can consume this and decide that I want to work with this person
Yeah.
immediately,
Yeah.
instead of here's the 3 hour course that like
Yeah.
demonstrates expertise, but it's also like nobody's going to finish it. And, it may go viral, but it may not give you what you actually want.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's like you're saying, a huge shift in the space of like even how value is perceived at the moment. I
Mm.
think the whole like post Hormozy era, um, everyone's now giving things away for free. So like
Yeah.
your stuff is essentially meaningless because it's just
Mm.
flooded out in an ocean of everyone else doing the same thing.
Yeah. And so it's almost like I haven't heard post Hormozy. I like that. I heard a post woke the other day, which
Yeah.
is like you live in LA and you're just like so sick of what happened during COVID. So
Yeah.
you're
Move to
like,
Texas or something.
yeah, you're post woke. But
Yeah.
post Hormozy, it's so ironic how moving to the opposite end, where it's like, I'm not the value guy, I'm not going to give you this,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
And like, you want help, like come buy my stuff,
Yeah.
is more appealing, which
Yeah.
is yeah, it's really interesting you point that out.
Yeah, well, because I think everything sort of works in cycles. Like there'll be a cycle of um, you sort of got to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Like if everyone else is
Mm.
sort of gatekeeping their stuff and saying, "Hey, you got to come to me and buy it," then if you give things away, you stand out.
Yeah.
Whereas if everyone's giving things away, then if you don't and you gatekeep and you just provide insight rather than like just giving everything away, then you stand out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I honestly think that's a huge thing that's actually missing is in the space is teaching people to how to think, and
Mm.
that's what like a lot of the gurus that I won't name any, but they don't do that because they just say like, hey, follow this script word for word, but they don't teach
Yeah.
them how to think about psychology and how to stand out.
Yeah. It's monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah,
That I get the question, does this come with templates? Like, am I going to get a snapshot? Am I going to get this? I'm like, yeah, but honestly, it's not going to help you as much as you think it is. Like, I
yeah,
literally tell you, download the snapshot and then rebuild it yourself,
yeah,
because you're going to learn the software better. You're going to understand what you actually need. And anybody who's selling you some complex snapshot, like you're living with this underlying anxiety. Same with an ad template. You're living with the underlying anxiety of like, one day this ad template is going to stop working. One
yeah,
day something in this snapshot is going to send some SMS out of the blue that I had no idea existed. And if you don't actually take the time to learn it yourself, you're always in the mercy of other people, is the bottom line. Like you're
yeah,
at the
one hundred
mercy
percent.
of whoever has the next best template, instead
Yeah,
of true entrepreneurial freedom, which is I can get customers at will for my clients and I can get it for myself. Which is a whole whole other level in conversation. But
Yeah.
that's you're man. People from New Zealand are just they're wise beyond their years. Got the the every entrepreneur I've met from New Zealand is like they just see the world differently. Maybe it has to do with like living in Middle Earth or something.
Yeah, there's something in the air.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with that, dude. Like a lot of people expect to get paid like expert level dollars
Hmm.
without actually being an expert on things.
Yeah.
And so many people in the space are just looking for like a quick pump and dump of sign clients, collect a 2K retainer, and then after that, it's just like a big question mark
Yeah.
because their whole vision is like clients, 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 clients.
Yes. 100%. Hey guys, just jumping in here to give you a quick word on our sponsor High Level before we get back to the interview. If you don't know already, High Level is the top sales and marketing solution for any business, but particularly agency owners or anybody that needs a software product to resell to their existing customer base. It has everything you need to capture, nurture, and close leads for marketing clients. And the best part is High Level believes in not taxing the agencies on its platform, so you can get unlimited clients for one low flat monthly fee. The best features include a CRM, funnel, website and email builders, course hosting platform, robust marketing automation builder, a consolidated chat stream with WhatsApp, email, SMS, Instagram DMs, and Facebook DMs, reputation management, social media posting, tracking and analytics, and so much more. And as if that wasn't enough, High Level is fully white labeled, meaning that you can take the platform and put your own brand on the desktop and mobile app and resell it to your industry for whatever price you want. Essentially, what High Level has done is brought the bar for starting a software company way lower so normal people like you and I can help our clients with an amazingly robust software without paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in development costs. I am not kidding when I say hands down, High Level is my favorite software of all time. It has been integral to my success with my agency. It helped me increase my clients' results and retention, and I use it every single day for my own business. And if you sign up for High Level today, not only will you get a 30-day free trial, which is not available on their website, but you'll get all of the bonuses listed at itskeaton.com/mastermind, which gets you support, templates, and courses to kickstart your high level journey and get those first few clients or scale to your next few clients. If you're already a high level customer, you can also get all of those bonuses by upgrading to the next highest plan underneath my link. Instructions for that are also at itskeaton.com/mastermind. So, your commission-based clients end up leaving you.
Yeah.
Um, And what was the first like retainer client you signed? What was the price and how did that process work?
So I got them on for 1,500 a month.
Nice.
I'm trying to remember. I think it was they came in through Facebook.
Love it.
Um, I think they opted into a 2-step and just like started up a conversation with them. Was a super straightforward sales call, which is the great thing of like if you get people coming to you with a problem you already want to solve, which is the beauty of organic. So I
Yeah.
hopped on a sales call. They're like, I have this problem. They're like, cool, I can help you with that problem. And then just basically went
Yeah.
on from there. And it's been really good. So they joined in I think September 23,
Hmm.
and they've stuck around till this day. So that's been what 6-7 months so far. Um,
Love it.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
Those first, I still have my first client actually. My first three
nice.
clients I still
Wow.
have. Um, so 5 years later, and it's fun because you treat them. I mean, when as the agency grows, it tends like customer experience tends to be less reliable because you have to
Yeah,
hire more people out. But when it's you and you do everything perfectly, um, they tend to stick around for a really long time, which is fun.
yeah, yeah. I even remember you saying in one of your videos in the course that you had, I think it was like your second client or something jumped on, and like you didn't get great results with them initially, and then you just switched to like an awareness campaign, and
Hmm.
then things started ticking over that, and now they're stoked, and at least
Yeah,
at that point, I think they're still with you,
yeah, still have
which
them.
is
That
yeah,
the actually there's another podcast coming out that everybody's probably seen already. If you haven't, go watch it. It's a good one. They talk about it, the billboard ad strategy, which is just like some business owners just want to buy awareness. And
yeah,
so, if they want to pay you for that, they don't want to mess around with the Facebook ads or maybe like an UpEx type, combination thing with high level. There's a lot of money in that. And there's a lot of people that want to buy, you know, ads that are completely meaningless in terms of an ROI, but like they feel good about them. And sometimes it's just about the business owner's feelings, and
yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
okay, so you closed the first one in September, and you recently hit 10K, right?
Yeah, I'm at about 8K at the moment. Last
Okay,
month I was sort of consistently sitting at 8K now for a couple of months.
love it,
But I'm fingers crossed I should cross it this month or next.
love it.
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like I've got to a point with how things are set. Like I've got systems in place where I feel pretty ready to like explode to
Hmm.
20, 30K pretty,
That's great,
ideally
man.
pretty fast.
No, and that's exactly how it should be. Like the company I sold to, I talked to them and they said, the philosophy at the beginning was like how would we continue to do business if we could never market ourselves again, if we could only get referrals? And we spent the thing that really stuck with me is we spent the first 2 years just learning and doing
Mm,
everything under the sun. Like we did it, we had no systemization, we had no niche, we had no whatever. And like you think about it, 2 years to just like sit down and learn digital marketing and like everything under the sun and deal with all that complexity to then have a skill that you can scale to however much you want because you have a high income skill now.
yeah,
Like compare that to, and you get paid for it along the way. Compare that to a 4 year degree where you come out and what you learned in year one is already outdated and
yeah,
you don't have any real world experience. Like it's a pretty sweet deal.
yeah, man. Yeah, and
Um,
because I went down both roads, sort of like I went to university, I got my
mhm,
undergrad. I'm just finished up an MBA a couple of years ago, and in hindsight, I wish I didn't do that
mhm.
because there was 5 years of university, and in the 2 or just under 2 years that I've been doing the agency, I feel like I've learned so much more about like actual business principles,
Yeah.
which a lot of that stuff doesn't teach. But
Yeah. It's impossible to learn in a vacuum,
yeah,
unfortunately. It'd
yeah,
be nice
100%.
if we could, but
Yeah,
alas,
yeah,
you know. um, so you just kept like literally your only marketing has been Facebook organic in the Facebook group.
yeah. So I'm looking at turning things around now because like the organic stuff's great,
Hmm.
and it's bringing in really good quality people, but I feel like I've built out the business on the back end where it's got like good systems. I'm feeling super sold in service delivery where
Hmm.
I'm wanting more people in now. So I'm setting up some cold email and I'm going to be doing some YouTube organic as well. Just like sort of fleshing out the acquisition side of things now.
Yeah, that's cool. I was talking to Matt DeSeno, if you know him, the owner of HL Pro Tools, and he was saying, how they say like for the trades, if you do, it can be fast, cheap, or high quality. Like
Yeah,
choose two,
yeah,
right? And he was saying when it comes to growing a business, it's like you can either get a lot of customers, have an amazing customer experience, or have a life outside your business. Like choose
yeah,
two, you
yeah.
know?
That's
And
so
so
true. I've never even thought of it like that. That is so true.
I know. So it's like for me, obviously with the family, like you want to spend time with your family. I'm sure you have family and friends and stuff you want to spend
Yeah,
time with, but like we were talking in terms of people with kids like it's so true like if you want every customer experience to be perfect like you kind of have to kiss your family or personal life goodbye for a little bit
yeah,
if if you want to scale fast. If you want to scale slow, then you can have all three.
yeah,
Basically you can, well, you only have two in that case because you're scaling slow,
yeah,
but it's so much better because you don't build up this negative word of mouth or negative experiences about you. And if you really take the time to service every client properly, then the growth is going to be much smoother and it's going to be faster in the long run because you're not fighting against the negative perception of the business and your own. Like there's a lot of people that go up really fast and then come down really fast because they get nervous about actually being able to deliver results
yeah,
because they didn't spend enough time learning how.
yeah. So true. And speaking from experience, once you sort of crack like a certain level, obviously of money, like um, service delivery issues are way more stressful than sales issues after a certain point.
Yeah.
Way more stressful
Mm.
for me personally, at least. So
No,
I
yes.
would rather grow slow.
For people
And
with a conscience, they are.
yeah, 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 yeah,
For psychopaths, not so much.
yeah.
Don't take that the wrong way. By the way, anyone listening to this, I just mean there's some people that literally have no feelings and they just like sell and don't care about the results, and
Yeah.
that's not the kind of business I want to run. So
Especially in today's day and age, like reputation it means everything. Like if your reputation gets ruined from one business, then every subsequent business you maybe ever want to start,
yeah,
yeah, kiss it goodbye. There's no
yeah,
chance.
yeah, and even if your reputation doesn't follow you from niche to niche, your
I think it all catches up to you sooner or later. Even
yeah,
if you get lucky for a couple of weeks or a couple of years or however long, it'll bite you on the
yes,
ass sooner or later.
yeah, and you're not learning the skill that really needs to be learned at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So tell us about how you went about learning service delivery. And I think I've seen some of the stuff you've posted. A lot of it's focused on helping the client with sales, not just with leads,
Yeah. Yeah.
and helping them attracting the person that doesn't just want to like give away their services with a bunch of discounts, but give them, actually be the authority in their niche. So tell us about what you've learned there and then how you've learned it.
Yeah. Well, like for my niche in particular with med spas, and I imagine a lot of other niches as well, but there's been sort of like what we're talking about with the trends of everyone's giving away value stuff. So now insight is what really works. I'm
Mm-hmm.
noticing a similar trend with everyone in the med spa niche is giving away these massive discounts as a
Mm,
way of like standing out and getting people through the door. And it's gotten to a point where like it's just not attractive to the right people.
yeah.
So on my service delivery side, it's been a huge process of trying to figure out how to deliver results without pushing these crazy discounts, without pushing like 50, 70, 80% discounts,
Mm.
um, and still actually bringing in profitable results. So um, uh, uh, yeah, it's been a lot of work. It's been programs helping out, which has been amazing, and systems has been something that's been pretty important to build up.
So, what specifically um, have you like implemented to help people attract without the big discounts?
So it's simply taking the focus off of the discounts and instead putting the focus onto the problems that's actually being solved. And the whole like basis behind that is it's quite like cheap communication when you're talking to people in terms of price and saying like, hey, like you've got this problem, well, I can fix it for $47, rather than speaking to people in a way where like they feel truly understood.
Hmm.
And you're speaking to like not just the surface level stuff of the problem, but like really getting deep into how it's impacting them. And it works really well for bringing the right people if you can do it properly, which is the hard part, right? Um,
Yeah, it's funny you bring this up because I remember my wife was going for a laser hair removal, and she was prepared to pay like honestly like 1,400 or 1,500. I don't know what the average price is,
yeah,
and she hadn't come in through an ad or anything. She just like sought it out on her own, and she would be like a pretty ideal candidate, like willing, cares about her appearance, cares about what laser hair removal does, and doesn't have to, it isn't broke, and is willing to spend on that. And they were like, well, usually it's 1,600. And she was like, cool, but today it's 400. And she just like, obviously shuts her mouth and like doesn't pay the full amount.
yeah,
But she didn't even come in there for the discount. She came
yeah,
in with expecting to pay full price, and then they essentially just gave away $800 in profit.
yeah,
So is that a common trend that you're seeing?
yeah. A lot of that's what a lot of clinics are doing that because they just don't know how to sell properly. Like their sales process is essentially messed up. Like they're attracting the wrong people. They can't convert the right people. Um, yeah, and it's funny because like there's a clinic I'm working with at the moment, and in their ads, like I bring up price, but I don't talk about discounts. I don't talk about percent off. It's just like price is there as a qualifying thing more than anything.
Yeah.
Um, and they are like well and beyond outperforming other people who I am trying discounts for at the moment. You know,
Mm.
just because the people who are coming in are like, yeah, I have this problem and I want it solved. And when you get the focus of the people coming in on the problem rather than the price, then obviously the upside potential is way more on the back end.
Yeah. So do you sell over the phone before they get there to help with no shows, or is it all like free consultations?
It depends. That's part of the process of just like optimizing on how things are going. So like initially, I always advise um, don't take deposits, don't take credit cards or anything. Just get people in, and then
Hmm.
depending on how people are reacting to that, like if you are dealing with no shows, that's when you want to start taking deposits or credit card info. Um, but like the generally speaking, it's better to get, at least if you've got the right qualification on the front end on your ads, it's better to get more of the leads in your books rather than scaring someone off with collecting deposits. But like it's hard to say because it really does depend. It changes a lot. You know, there's no
Yeah.
one right way of doing it.
No, that's. I know you're not BSing me because you're saying that. It's the same same way we did it in my agency. Like it
Yeah,
just certain markets like gangbusters. Like you could literally you could put whatever you want on the ad and it would still do well.
yeah,
Like it just
yeah,
feels like you whatever you do touch or whatever you touch turns to gold in that particular market, and then
yeah,
for whatever reason you sign up a clinic in another market, and um, the same stuff that was working before doesn't work as well there.
yeah,
And so it's really getting down to the having having a library of things that you can pull from
yeah.
to apply for different people in different situations.
Yeah, and that's actually what I'm trying to build out now is
Okay.
essentially just like different things that I can say. Cool, this isn't working. I'm going to try this, which is I guess sort of what's the name of that book? The E myth,
E Myth. Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, you put me onto that book, and
Oh, great.
that's about right. You know, productizing everything, which is part of what's missing for me, which is a consequence of not having team in.
Yeah. Soon, but you're right to protect margins and learn things yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what else did agency dominance help you out with besides the hybrid marketing? Was there anything else that you were able to pull from that and apply it?
It helped me treat it like an actual business, which
Mm.
sounds so simple, but so many people don't do that. Um, like I think a big reason of why I haven't got to 10K or beyond yet is because um, what's the right way of putting this? It's treating it like a business and showing up like an actual business owner,
Yeah.
which it can take a long time to sort of make that change. Um,
It
but
forces you to mature
yeah,
quickly.
100%,
Yeah.
hundred
Like
percent.
in the 6 months I like started taking things seriously, like I turned from a college kid to like an adult, and
Yeah,
it was tangible. Like I'd go hang out with my college friends and be like, whoa, like I'm different.
yeah.
And anyway, I cut you off. Keep going.
Well, no, I was saying I've definitely noticed that as well. Like it is a huge change. But it's also a really fun change. Like I think once you really
Yeah.
start getting into it, it's almost kind of addictive in some ways.
Yeah,
Um,
that's so true.
yeah, but yeah, honestly, it just sort of helped me take like a really zoom out and realize the importance of actually having operations in place and having really just like all the systems, all the operations that when people do come in, they stick around.
Yeah. Are you marketing multiple services for most of these people, or have you niched down in terms of what you'll market for them?
No, it's multiple services. I'm assuming you're talking about in terms of like laser hair removal, for example, or
Yeah,
micro
yeah,
needling or something.
or
Yeah,
Botox or whatever. Yeah.
yeah. I haven't niched down on that just because that cuts out a massive part of the market. There are things I won't do. Like I'm
Mhm.
tending to only work with more like high end clinics who have certain machines. Like they aren't just doing injectable sort of thing because that's where they don't really have. They either don't have a lot of money or it can just be quite commoditized with services like that.
Yeah, like you can set up. I went to a one of those like co-working space, and someone had set up an injectables like office in the co-working space.
Really,
Yeah, it was like
what a
rent
weird
an
place to do
office,
it.
you know. So yeah, those are it's kind of like set up your own nail salon thing, but it's just your one, you know, seat or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so what else? I think you said you've been investing in like other coaches and mentorship, and I've seen you go to some events. What has that done for you, and what are some key things, some key learnings that you could share with people listening today that have come from that?
I think like so I've gone through two programs. That's been yours and one other. The main thing I'd say to people when you're like looking at getting into programs is do it for the thinking that you're going to develop from it, rather than like the scripts or whatever they're going to give you. Because
Mm.
like we're talking about earlier, like scripts really mean they mean nothing.
Mm.
They'll work for like best case a month, and then you'll end up like me at the start where it stopped working, and then I was like, well, crap, like what now? Because I don't
Yeah.
know how to think. But the other program was already like it was doubling down on organic, and essentially how to
Cool.
pull out like the right problems to talk to people to. Um, and yeah, like the biggest thing I'd say on that is like with any marketing in general, or any sales process in general, is the better you can understand the problems that people are experiencing, um, the better opportunity you create for yourself to then connect what you do to the problems that they're experiencing. And
Mm.
it's essentially that connection that you make between the two of how you can help them get from where they are now to where they want to be is, I guess, like how much conviction you're going to inspire in people.
Yeah. And it sounds like you've applied that to your ads that you do for clients as well.
Yeah.
Um, how are all of your clients in the US?
I've got 2 in the UK and 1 in Canada, but mostly US. Yeah.
Okay. And how has the time zone thing been?
It's interesting. It's coming up to the time of year we've got. So it's just been daylight saving for you guys, I believe.
Yeah.
We've got daylight saving coming up in New Zealand, I think next week. So that's going to be interesting. That's where like there's like a 16-hour time difference between
Okay.
Eastern time and my time. So it'll be 8 p.m. in New York or something. It'll be midday for me. So that
Hmm.
makes it tricky, but it's still super doable. And to anyone who's watching who's worried about like working with people in different time zones, like it works out. People don't really care about it as long as you can actually get them results.
Yeah.
They're happy to not be able to talk to you for like the first couple hours in the morning or the last couple hours at night.
Like
Um,
realistically, you only need to get on like one call to close them and then
yeah,
like maybe a check-in call
yeah,
every couple months type thing, you know?
yeah,
Um, that's cool. I do get that question a lot, and I think a lot of people want to go after the US market, but they're nervous because of an accent or a country.
yeah,
Have you noticed any? I mean, I feel like New Zealand is just sort of like, I love New Zealand. I want to go there. I don't see a lot of maybe like bias coming into that, but have you
yeah.
noticed any challenges in selling overseas?
Initially, a lot of people think I'm Australian, so
Okay.
I'll hop on a call with them. They're like, "Oh, so what part of Australia are you from?" Um, but yeah, it was more of a problem initially, and I think
Mhm.
that's just because of the nature of the people who I was sort of interacting with. Like you have
Okay.
more beginner offers, or like
Yeah.
more beginner target offers. You're going to attract beginners, and they're just more like skittish about everything.
Yeah.
Um,
That's so true.
like seriously everything. So the people I've been working with now, like I haven't had anyone have any problems in a while, like months and months and months and months.
That's great.
Um, yeah, people hop on. They're like, "Oh, like are you from well, whatever?" I'll tell them I'm from New Zealand. They're, oh, cool. Like it's a really nice place,
Yeah.
and there's no resistance to it or anything, which
That's
is
great.
sort of a consequence of attracting the right people.
Yeah. And pre-framing them to like, hey, look, we're not here to waste your time. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Content is just, it's not that outbound doesn't work. It's just exhausting
yeah,
sometimes when the quality of the person and the call doesn't line up with how you want to be spending your time. And
yeah,
there's ways to get around that for sure. There's people with very successful outbound agencies or agencies that are built with outbound, but to me there will always be nothing better than an organic audience.
yeah, 100%. And even if you sort of combine the two, of having organic and then you're reaching out to those people in your audience. I mean, to everyone watching, I'm sure if you had Keaton message you, it'd be completely different if you had, someone message you saying, if I get you
Yeah.
90 to 120 appointments in a month, or you don't pay, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I'm getting to the point where people would think it was a scam if I messaged
yeah,
them. Maybe not true, depending on if I mention crypto or not.
yeah,
But a lot of like big influencers have to do, not that I'm that big, but they have to put like, I will never DM you first. That's like the first line in their bio
yeah.
because
Wow.
they get impersonated so often.
Yeah.
Um, so walk us through, and I want to go back to your organic system because it seems like it's worked really well for you. Do you just friend people in the niche every day, or how are you actually growing the reach there? And then how
Yeah.
many people has the Facebook group grown to? And do you find it um like are you really just pulling like most of your clients? Like you want a new client, you go to the Facebook group and you like put your rod out basically and catch a fish, or how does that work?
Yeah. So in terms of growing the profile, I've got a VA who's based just hopping on Monday to Friday, sending out 50 friend requests across the day. So
Nice.
that's I've gone to the point now where my friends list is built up of the right people, so they're just gone to suggested. But
Yeah.
previously, I was going into Facebook groups and doing that. Something which a lot of people might not know about is you can also just jump into the search bar and just type in like med spa owner and then switch it to friends of friends to filter the
Mm,
search, and it pulls in really good people like that as well.
nice.
So I sort of use a mixture of those depending on how many people come up and suggested. Um, yeah, and the acceptance rate is lower than I'd like, to be honest. Like,
Mhm.
that's something I've been working on, is the audience growth side of things. But I'll probably grow the friends list by anywhere from like 100 to 200 a month.
Okay. It's good.
Um,
It's still, I mean, that's the amazing thing about Facebook that I talk about in the course. Like, there's nothing like that auto two-way follow. Like,
yeah,
you accept this and you're following, like, you see my stuff, and it's
yeah,
a personal profile. So you actually see my stuff.
yeah,
There's no other platform that works like that except maybe LinkedIn.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's so good on that front. And then in terms of the group,
Hmm.
it's literally just as simple as hopping in and inviting probably like 25 people a day who are like in my niche. I don't want to be inviting like other marketers and all that stuff. And then going through and sending out invite reminders. And it's honestly like as simple as that. And then things just grow.
Love it. And are you,
Um,
you said you're doing like live trainings and stuff in there. Do you have like a free course they go through, or what do you do to keep the engagement up?
Honestly, I don't really care about engagement. Like
Hmm.
a lot of the posts I put out and they get 0 likes, but
Okay.
then I hop onto calls with people and they say, like, I saw your live training and that was crazy. Like, you read my mind.
No way.
So, like, one of the I don't know if you'd call it a fallacy, but people get so caught up in engagement
Mm,
that, like, if their post doesn't get X number of likes, they're like, oh my god, like, what have I done wrong?
yeah.
But that doesn't mean that people aren't reading it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a really good point.
and I've found, honestly, like, a lot of the time, the people I've hopped on with calls who have said that they've never engaged with any of my stuff, but they
Yeah.
say like, wow, like all your posts on this, it just like, God, there's what did someone say the other day? Someone just said like, oh, this really spoke to me, and I just realized like I just needed to get on a call with you.
Yeah. It's, you think about it, like, I wasn't always this person. I've grown into this person, but I am now the quote unquote whale. Like, someone would be happy to land me as a client, right?
Yeah,
Based on the amount of outreach messages I get a day. And the people who do are not the ones like dancing around trying to do some crazy pattern interrupt and yelling at me in their ads. The people that do are posting stuff that calls out to what I really want, which is
yeah,
like an amazing lifestyle, an amazing business, amazing results for my clients, and cracking the code on the problem that I have, which you've alluded to a lot.
yeah,
Um, and I read comments because I think they're hilarious on like, reels or whatever on Instagram. But I'm never that person. Like, I'm never the person to go leave a comment. And I like, this belief is solidifying more and more in my mind. Like, the more sophisticated the person is, the less comments they leave and the less things
yeah,
they like, you know, and
yeah,
the less money they have and the less of business sophistication they have, the more they're liking and commenting on posts all day.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just quickly on that, the some of the stuff you share on your Facebook of like the messages you get and stuff like that is so funny.
It's funny. I had a mentor tell me like you'll be perceived very, very like low tolerance and like rude if you complain about DMs. And I was like, I don't know. It's just kind of fun.
Yeah,
It is crazy, and it makes me wonder how long this can go on, like what's going to get cracked down on in terms of messaging.
Yeah,
It seems like cold email. I feel like every day I hear more about cold email. Like more people are doing cold email, but then I hear about how hard it is to continue doing cold email because Google and Yahoo are cracking down on all this stuff. And yeah, I don't know. Just goes back to building an audience at the end of the day. Like
yeah,
you gotta know how to do content because you never know when these messaging platforms are going to be taken away.
totally. Yeah, and that's where like branding's key, because if people know who you are, you could easily just jump onto another platform if your one gets
Yeah,
closed down. And you're sort of starting from square one, but at least you have the skills of creating content. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I just think content creation is amazing. Like I even think to myself of who I've hopped on calls with, and everyone who like to join programs, everyone who's I've hopped on a call with, it's because I've watched their content
yeah,
and I've trusted them because of that. And then you show up, and it's almost like, oh, like this person's talking to me like, wow.
yeah. And if you watch that type of stuff, then you should be the one making that type of stuff,
Yeah,
um, because you'll understand the context of that a lot better than like I never go to a webinar. I did when I was a beginner, but if I just don't do free webinars anymore because I know they're
yeah,
just trying to sell me something, right?
yeah,
So I'm like, am I going to run a free webinar? Like, no, it doesn't. It just doesn't feel true to me, and I don't want to attract the person that wants to go to a free webinar. I want to attract the person who wants to like read a couple pieces of insightful content, reach out, and get going right away.
yeah.
Um, so powerful to think about it that way. So we're coming up on our hour here. What advice would you have to Oliver 2 years ago? If you could tell yourself, you could tell yourself how to shortcuts the process, what would you tell him?
Um, it's an interesting one because I think it'd just be staying patient would be a big one. Like obviously not expecting results
Mm-hmm.
overnight, and a lot of people say that, but it's even realizing like it really does take time if you want to do things right.
Yeah.
Um, and a big thing I'd say would be taking the focus off of reaching the goal of 10K and putting the focus on like becoming someone who can, if you know what I mean, like building, treating what you're doing like a business, becoming an actual business owner and acting accordingly. Um, those would be the main things, like focusing more on who I am rather
Yeah, that's a
than
great nugget.
what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because that as soon as I started making changes to myself more, that's where I noticed a lot of the results came from.
Nice. Tell us more about that. What daily habits or what changes were you able to implement that made a big difference?
Um, less drinking, that's a huge one. Like
Okay.
if you're going out every weekend, it's so hard to come to work on like a Monday or a Sunday or whenever,
Hmm.
and feel like an actual human. you know
Yeah.
that's been a big one. um, and just like finding a way to actually start enjoying the work.
Mm.
um, yeah, like I could sit here and say like meditate and do all of this stuff, and they can work. I think
Yeah.
the main thing is just like finding what works for you and what helps you sit down at your computer and just like work, whether that be
Yeah.
going for a walk first thing in the morning or half an hour meditating or whatever. Um, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. The brain is so powerful, like neuroplasticity is so real. And that basically means that we can learn to love things that we don't currently love.
yeah,
And it's frightening. Like I feel like the more time I spend in business, the more I just like lose interest in everything else.
yeah,
And I'm trying to become more like, less one dimensional because I was there for a while where it was just
yeah,
like that's all I thought about, it's all I wanted to do.
yeah,
But if and I've always been like a fairly hard worker, but if you're in a position where you just feel like you can't do the work, like there is a way to fall in love with it, and that's getting up and doing it every day
yeah,
and getting addicted to the learning process basically.
yeah. 100%. That's such a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Oliver, appreciate you, man.
This was awesome. This
Yeah.
was really good. I liked it a lot.
If anybody wants to find you, any med spa owners somehow find this, how can they find you?
Just Facebook. So it's facebook.com/Oliver Sharp 0. That's just SHRP.
Great.
Yeah, and I'll probably be chucking up a YouTube channel in the next week or so. So that'll just be under Oliver Sharp.
Cool. yeah, I'll maybe pop the link in the description if you don't mind some
Yeah.
agency owners watching everything you do.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks so
By
much.
the way, like if just quickly, if anyone is wanting
Yeah,
to connect and just ask me any questions or anything, seriously, just shoot me a message on Facebook. I'm not going to gatekeep everything. I'm happy to have a chat and help people out, obviously. So yeah,
love it. Appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
cool. This was awesome, dude. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.